Good afternoon, everyone. I'll get into, just briefly explain what we're going to be doing. Very unrehearsed. We've taken a bit of a different approach with this one, and what's going to be happening is I got Octavian over here playing. Instead of putting up slides with text and pictures of the bosses, we're just going to demo them live as I talk about them. Later on in the talk, if anyone's willing to test their might, we will be. We've got some stairs installed. I will get people to raise their hand. You can come on stage if I pick you, and we will let you fight the boss. If you succeed, or let's say do well enough, I got some merch over there to give you. And then obviously Q&A at the end if we have time, but if fighting bosses is more entertaining, then we can just keep that going. I'm going to move around a lot, sorry to the lighting team. I like to pace. If I do any dancing like I did the last ExileCon that people made GIFs out of, feel free to update them. I have lost a lot of weight, as some people have known, and I would like to have some updated GIFs about that. Thank you very much. So to get into bosses and monsters, well, as seen from the earlier trailer, we have a good 100 bosses, one per area. Except for towns, obviously. So, well, we could put bosses in towns. No bosses in towns yet. So we've got 100 bosses, one in every area, and that's not even talking about endgame. Don't you worry what's going to happen there. We never cease to have our fair share of pinnacle bosses, and obviously the same bosses will reappear in maps and a later topic. As for monsters, we've got 600 distinct monsters with different skills, looks, names, abilities, everything. Every area has a completely different feel to every other area. It is amazing to play through. It feels very, very fresh every time you travel to different areas. You're not getting a lot of the stale repetition. Now, obviously, skeletons appear in more than one zone and whatnot, so it's not completely all unique in every single area. But for those who have played the demo, today you can see what we've got. Now, making bosses is probably my pride point of working, being a game designer. It is the thing I'm most proud of, and the thing I enjoy the most. I like to see them kill people, including myself earlier. It's fine. I practiced that a lot. It's fine. It went good. That was not on purpose, just in case anyone was aware. That was a genuine accident. I did die. It did kill me. I'm not good enough. It's fine. Anyway, so we've got Octavian here. We've got, again, very little rehearsals. I'm pretty much just going to be telling him what I think we should fight, kind of picking them somewhat at random. I'm going to be going through slides and back a whole bunch, but there's nothing to really see but a game client up there. I've just got some this one just says intro numb monsters, that's all it says, so winging it. All right, so we're going to have Octavian go to fight Krutog, who is in the Volcanic Warrens in Act 4. Act 4 is my favorite act for bosses, and the reason being is that you can travel to all these different islands. So as for most acts, they have a consistent theme. So you've got Act 3 being very Val and jungle. You've got Act 2 being very desert Marrakech. You've got Act 1 being the Ezomite and the Gothic horror. Act 4 it has the Karui consistency through and hints of it, but every island is just a different biome. So you get this high diversity of different kinds of bosses. And that's really cool, and monsters for that matter, and that's really, really cool to me. Feel free, go for it. I'll talk about it as well. I'll try and get out of the way just a little bit. This is Krutog, the Lord of Kin. Some of you might have already gotten to him in the demos. And we've got Octavian here playing on the warrior. There might be bugs, things might go wrong. It's completely live. Okay, so in terms of context, just a bit of story. This guy is you can tell he's massive, right? He's a big dude. And what's going on here is that there are these goblin kin that are inhabiting the island, and these goblin see him as a god figure, just because he's so massive. And they bring him, if you play through the areas, you can see all the goblins, the goblin-esque, I think they're called kin, kind of this tall kind of thing. And because he's so big, yeah, they just see him as a god and they worship him, and they want to make him happy, and so they bring him, monsters, they bring him humans, they bring him like playthings, and they also bring him food. They're bringing things to him that they think will make him happy, And he's just like, I'm living the good life. I'm sitting here on my throne in this warm area, getting brought playthings, and so you can see he's got a suit of armor that's made out of human corpses. And when you start the fight and you first initially approach him, he's actually got two humans in his hands kind of playing and going at each other like they're dolls. And it's, he's to you, you're just a plaything to him. And you get a lot of this with this mechanic exactly going on right here, where he's trying to stomp you. You're just a bug to him. He's just trying to squish you. This fight is pretty relatively difficult as melee, but it's all right. We're not expecting anyone to succeed first attempt. In terms of mechanics, another thing is that they like to bring him sulfite to eat, the goblins. And you can see this, he's done this already in the fight, where he walks over and he goes and picks up some of that sulfite and eats it. And this unlocks two new abilities that he's doing now. One is the just burp. He does a big burp and lets out a wave of partial chaos, partial lightning damage, because it's electrified voltaxic sulfite. And Nico would probably love to find this island, but he hasn't quite yet. We have to find the sulfite. He's not. If he found it, he wouldn't need us. So don't tell him about it. As for the other mechanic, he does a big vomit, and it creates a growing puddle of degen, and which he can do two, so there can be two active at once, and obviously that creates more pressure, makes it harder, more claustrophobia, which I like to have in these fights. So now when he's trying to stomp you, you've got a lot less maneuverability. Now in terms of some interesting things, from a tech standpoint, good attempt, good. I'll have a quick, just a bit more, you can start it again, I'll just a bit more rant about this guy, but one thing in particular he has, which you can see in a lot of the boss fights, is he is very large. Now this was very difficult in PoE 1, and you'll notice that most of our very large bosses, are stationary. So Kitava's a good example. He cannot move. Arakali's another one. They cannot move. And that's because we have, in PoE 1, we have one central hitbox to an entity, and it's a square. And increasing that has complexities with things like pathfinding. But it does cause things where if you have that and it has a maximum size, you can't have a boss too large in PoE 1 that can move. Now, if they're stationary, we can make the thing larger because it doesn't need to pathfind. Technical limitations, or more so, it's for optimization's sake. Now, what you can notice on this guy, or what we've done, is we've actually given him multiple hitboxes. He doesn't have a central hitbox. He has one on each leg, which means when you target him, it will try and hit the closest one. It will run up and hit his leg. And this is cool. We've done this on a lot of bosses, and it's allowed us to have much, much larger bosses, and it just amplifies the epicosity big time. But yeah, and it also creates this thing where when he is stomping, it's pretty hard to have a look, but you can actually kind of dodge roll between his legs. He doesn't have an actual collider in his central thing, which again, all PoE 1 bosses are collision in the middle, so you can't run through the direct center of them. But we get to have some freedom to do that here, which is really cool. We can also have it that on some bosses, if, for example, if we were to redo Kitava, if he has a thing where he has obviously the skill where he buries his hand in the ground, we could activate a hitbox there so you can then just hit his arm. This is something we would be able to do now, we couldn't do before. So yeah, ultimately what I wanted to also show with this one is just, like, this isn't an act boss. He looks epic. He's just mid-act. He's just a one of, 18 or so bosses, or however, whatever the math ends up being there, bosses just located in Act 4. Now he's considered a bit slightly higher tier because he's at the end of a couple of areas, but so he's more than, like, say, the Quadrilla monster I fought during the keynote. He's one tier up from that, but yeah, very epic. One other thing I wanted to talk about, which I was hoping to be able to see, but I haven't been paying enough attention, is, and it was in the last talk, you saw it probably during the keynote, if you were there, you can now stun bosses. You can freeze bosses. We also have a mechanic called Electrocute coming, which allows lightning damage to do longer duration stun as well. Oh, stun. Crowd control, I should say. Now we've done custom heavy stun animations for all these bosses with various lengths. So this guy's is quite long. If you heavy stun him, he's probably going to be down for probably 6 seconds. That's complete, nice. That's, yeah, it's all right. We'll move on to the next one anyway. Just, what do we give a go here? We can go do the Blind Beast. Give it a go. Same character, saves you having to swap. For stunning, yeah, so you can stun these things. They get stunned for 6 seconds. But in other cases, we've got bosses that get stunned for 3 seconds, and others we can have it be stunned for 10 seconds. We get to completely control, heavy stunned, I should say. We get to completely control that now. And we can say this one gets stunned twice as often or half as often, and so because we get to do all that, certain heavy stun has certain value on some bosses than on others. So an example of this actually is this boss, the Blind Beast. Now this is in the area before what we just fought. We probably should have fought them in the opposite order, but it's all right. This one's easier, for sure. It is, you'll see the goblins I was talking about earlier around the edge of the arena. These are the ones that worship the Krutog that we just had before. Now this arena of theirs, I mean, they bring people in here. So these goblins like to tame beasts. If you play in the area, you can see them riding on top of these big beasts and they jump off when you get near them. Pretty cool mechanic. But in this case, this one was untamable. They couldn't control it. So they put it in an arena, they built an arena and they bring people here to fight against it and to test their might and to see if they're strong enough while they're all cheering. Now if you do happen to defeat it, they all get a bit scared and shocked and they all just flee and they're gone. Because now to you, you're very intimidating. Now the rest of the level, they'll still fight you because they didn't get to see you fight it, but very dodgeable. Again, you've got another mechanic here. It's very just hard hits, heavy slams. You'll notice some knockback on some of the stuff. He's got that skill that creates 3, what do we call them? A bit like kind of abyss cracks, I guess. And then slams and it causes damage along them and that creates degen for a duration. What else about this one? So this one, his heavy stun animation, which just happened there. So that was his heavy stun. Now this one's not quite long, but it gives you enough opportunity for him to do the channeled, the heavy impact skill he just had. His one is not very long, but he gets heavy stun twice as frequently as other bosses. So you have less time to utilize the heavy stun, but you have more opportunities to do something if you're able to. Now one other thing about this boss, which we can say it at the end, but you'll notice it happened in the keynote as well, is that they drop consumable quest items, so they're consumable items that give permanent bonuses to characters. So the first time you kill them, a lot of bosses in the campaign do it. This one in particular, I believe, drops like a soaked, bile-soaked skill book or something, but it gives +5 to all attributes permanently to that character. There are many throughout the whole campaign. Not every single boss drops one, but we have different rewards. Another thing that happens with bosses in PoE 2 is the first time you kill them, they will have much higher, and this is actually something Diablo 2 did, they will have much higher rarity and better drops. So you're really incentivized to explore throughout the campaign, find all the bosses and kill them for both permanent bonuses and for much better items. This is something that will hopefully promote not skipping so much of the random mini bosses. Like there's always the question of, once you know what you're doing, should you kill Fire Fury? Well, I don't know how many people here do, I don't think I ever do. But we really want it to be now that you feel like you've missed out on something if you skip it. Well, it's gone a bit rough here, but we're good. All good. Anyway, if you were to have killed him, he would have dropped probably a quest item that you would be able to use and get a permanent bonus. We're going to try a very difficult one now. Sorry. You know what it is, the Siren boss. Good luck. Don't worry, it's all right, it's all right. Again, not practiced, and that's fine. Like, hopefully it makes everyone, I assume a lot of people have been out there having a pretty rough time with the demos if they've been playing it, but don't feel too bad. It is hard for everyone, and it's easy to make mistakes, easy to die. Now this boss, don't worry about him warping into the water there. You're going to just see some stuff that we do behind the scenes. Otherwise he's going to have to clear through all the levels manually, and it's going to take, I mean, my talk will be over and he wouldn't have even got here yet. Now, what have we got to talk about on this one is, well, I'll give some context again, just for interest's sake. So this is Diamora, the siren of the Song of Death. She's a siren in the cave. You obviously get some Mervale vibes straight off the bat, but it is pretty much a modern-day enhanced Mervale. And what she does is turns people to stone. This one's rough. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry, Octavian. She turns people to stone, and so as you're going through the level and you see the above area, you'll see heaps of people, petrified people who have come here. So people have tried to inhabit this island that is above. She's actually on the tropical island and the caves underneath it, or towards the ocean front. And she turns people to stone, and what's happened here is that she'll eat them. But as such, yeah, we've got a petrify mechanic, which you haven't yet seen. I don't know if we'll be able to get her that far into this fight. It is brutal, this one. Now, one thing that happened with this one is if we were able to show the phase, she has a petrify mechanic where she jumps into the water, goes into the middle, comes up, and she's just radiating gold. And she's cursed. She wants people to be able to look at her. She's trying to find the one that can resist the petrification. And you can't. You're not the one. And yeah, so she'll turn you to stone, and that's during a whole minion phase. But we have one mechanic where mirrors would be spawning periodically around the edge of the arena. This isn't in now, it's been removed since, and it was just incomprehensible. You're getting turned to stone from all directions, but the idea was that if you look at her, you turn to stone, and as these walls of water that come up that reflect that, if you look at that, you also get turned to stone. But then they would spawn periodically, and what I wanted people to do was to move clockwise or counterclockwise around the arena at a fixed pace. And if you overshoot the time, you will end up lapping yourself, and now you've got mirrors in every direction and you've failed. So you have to move at say 25 degrees per some time slot, unbalanced, so I don't know the exact numbers. Now, we removed that because it was just no one could tell where they were being petrified from or what to do. It was too complicated. Now that's normally fine to do it in-game. Pinnacle content to have something kind of complicated like that. People will find it frustrating, people will find it stressful, and others will find it challenging and something to learn, something to keep fighting until they learn it. And those are two completely fine demographics to target. But when it's going to be progression blocking like that, all of a sudden you've got this just boss where it's stopping 50% of players in their tracks completely, and it's not like you can kind of gear to brute force it in that case, because Petrified's a pretty hard lock mechanic. You might be able to survive it maybe with enough gear, but honestly pretty improbable. So we removed it from here, and it is kind of my hope that when we re-add it to endgame, we can revisit that mechanic and see if we do it depending on where it falls in and whatnot, or we'll take the same mechanic and apply it somewhere else. But ultimately, so it's this phase going on here. He's fighting the minions that are spawning during it, but he has to kind of always be having, I think it's 120 degree vision cone, as long as he's not, the chills are rough. As long as he's not looking at her for too long, he should generally be fine, but the minions are pretty brutal. And that gets on to another thing, which is that minion phases, well, you do not gain flash charges for killing normal monsters anymore. You only gain them for killing rares and magics and uniques. However, so this is purely downside. These minions are now just, it's a challenge. It's not a, refresh my life pool infinitely. So he's finished one petrification phase. He's doing pretty good, actually. Long fights, as you can see. It's not intended to be this long. We will have to adjust her life, among other things, put some cooldowns on some stuff. There's more iteration to be done, always more iteration to be done to get these right. However, it's in a pretty good state. Flash charges though, going back to that, well, tangentially, we have checkpoints, which you saw me revive at in the keynote, if you saw that, where you're just outside the boss. It is a new instance. You start the fight from scratch. However, the checkpoint restores your flash charges, fully heals you, and all of that. If he needs flasks right now, it is our expectation that he finds an opportunity to town portal, which he just did. You'll notice it has an animation. During boss fights, you now have I want to say that's about 2.5 to 3 seconds, but I don't remember the exact thing. It is normally instant, only if you're in a boss fight do you do it. Does it have a cast time like that? The other thing is that in order to stop people from just creating them during emerge sequences and all that, the moment they become hostile, all portals in their arenas are destroyed. We really want, I'll tell you what's disheartening is when you make Katava and you go and see the world firsts, of which some of you might even be here who did this, and you're literally using 40 portal scrolls to fight, going, oh, he's doing a skill, portal to town, portal back in, sit in grace period. And there are other ways to do this, but it's pretty disheartening to see. So we're working to make you really actually have to fight the boss, have to engage the boss, have to deal with these things. If you were to Alt F4 right now, don't do it, but if you were to Alt F4 right now and log back in, you will be exactly where you logged off, in the exact same state, and the boss will still. So if you're about to get slammed and you log out macro, it does not save you. You will be logging back in and that boss will be paused, and the moment you move, that slam hits, you will die. So the checkpoints, yes, you have to start the fight from scratch if you die. Pretty brutal, but it means we can't be too complicated with them, we can't be too difficult, except until later. It obviously gets progressively difficult, but it means more so we have to be more accurate with the balance. If you misbalance it, so many people are going to just hit a wall and they're going to have to stop playing. And that's very, very brutal. And I mean misbalance in the difficult direction, not the easy direction. That will be very brutal and it will be not good. Now that's still kind of the same in PoE 1, but the other thing that's super disheartening to see is people just die, revive, cast a few more skills, die, revive, cast a few more skills, die, revive. Like it is just like, it's just brutal. And then you don't learn anything, you gear for any of it, you just keep doing it. And then you get to the next boss and you're probably not good enough to do that one either, and so you do it again and again. And it's effectively, oh, you're having a rough time. So this is the second petrification phase here. This phase is much harder because on top of the ads, you've now got to these rotating drowning orbs, which behave the same way as they do in the Eater of Worlds fight, where they will straight up kill you after X seconds of being inside of them. They slow you as well. So you've got all those orbiting in various lanes, counterclockwise and clockwise, while you're having to deal with the minions. Just an example of escalation, but this fight is certainly way too hard right now. But if anyone manages to defeat it in the demo, honestly, good on you. It is doable, but it is pretty brutal. There's a lot of portals, so hopefully you can do it. Oh, one other thing about the portals, if you take damage while doing that cast, it is interrupted. You don't get to just execute it with ease, but 2.5 second windows are pretty frequent, so it's not actually impossible. All right, let's go check out another boss, shall we? Don't worry about this one anymore. I reckon Bog Witch is pretty cool. Again, we're looking at these bosses and they have a pretty damn epic. They kind of stand out, but they are not act bosses. Our act bosses are a whole nother tier. Generally, we escalate phases, mechanics, and introductions, and of course they have just an epicosity in terms of dialogue and storytelling. But we've even upped that. We have specific character reactions to bosses, character comments. They talk about them, they comment on them. All the different characters say different things based on their backgrounds. A lot more kind of on-the-fly storytelling, which is real cool with respect to these. All right, so now we've got the Bog Witch, also pretty difficult. This is actually the last area of the Act 3 demo, but I'm not sure how many people are going to get there. She is a witch, and right now she's, as you can see, doing some broomstick flying around. A little bit more horrific than that. So her first main phase, what she's doing now, is using bone magic. She is summoning bone walls and exploding those bone walls. This phase isn't too much of a threat. Or maybe. Maybe not, relative to the second phase. But yeah, as you can see, she is doing a lot of this bone, summoning walls. Now, once you damage her enough, during this phase, or once she's reached a certain life threshold, she's actually going to, oh, brutal. It's all right, try again. Feel free to just remove some life from her if you want to shortcut it, just so we can show it off. Or you can do it legit, it's up to you. You got 24 minutes though. So she changes phase mid-fight. So once you've done enough damage to her, she will actually face plant off the broomstick. The broomstick will snap. And then she's like, well, all right, I'll just use my fire magic that she's good at. She'll light all the effigies on the edge of the arena on fire, and then she'll be able to siphon fire magic from them to do fire magic. So you go from two different, very distinct styles of magic or spells in this fight. And it creates a whole different, phase, which is pretty fun. Hopefully if we get that far, I can talk about some of the mechanics behind that one. Yeah, good luck. All right, let's just give him a go for a minute here. Let him concentrate a little bit. Just want to see you get her to phase 2. No pressure. Oi. It took one of our designers, Jason, a lot of work to get her to do that kind of drifting vibe as she comes to change. So that mechanic, okay, here we go. We've got some fire magic going on. So that one you just saw, she creates 2 walls on either side of the player in line with an effigy and then siphons the fire from the effigy to her. But interestingly, what you can notice here, you can see the fire actually splits at her, sending damage that way. So not only running to the sides is safe, standing directly behind her makes you safe. It can be sometimes hard to maneuver into that exact position, however. But you can see there is a cone behind her that is a safe zone. Otherwise, she's got fireball, she's got flamethrower, she's still got some bone magic, which is apparently rough. But yeah, anyway, moving on again. Mastodon Necromancer, I reckon. I'm saying internal names, by the way. I have no idea what they're called in the demo right now. I honestly forget. So I think that one was called the Ignagduk Witch or something. Pronunciation to be determined. So this one's in Act 2 on the Huntress. This is in the Mastodon Badlands. Bone Pits, I think, is the second area. Here we go. So you've got these necromancers here. Again, more bone magic. And they summon this giant. We've shown this one off in the old Act 2 gameplay trailer, however long ago that was. Won't be fighting this one for too long, but because we'll move on, not because he'll necessarily win or lose. But what this one brings to the table, or the difficulties or complexities of this one, is when you've got a twinned fight, how do you make it that once you kill one, it isn't just completely boring and trivial? And so that's what we had originally. You have a good fight when there's both of them, and then the moment you kill one, it's just like, well, now I'm dealing with half. You never want a boss fight to just become, unless you've done an interesting mechanic to temporarily get ease out of the fight, we don't want it to be that you just all of a sudden have, a half-paced fight and it's like, oh, it's fine from here out. The fight should get harder, they should escalate, they should get more difficult. And that is what we had to accomplish here. So when he dies, he leaves, like his energy is still linked to the Mastodon, so he remains and he does his magic still from his corpse. And it would use this kind of mechanic, but they'll be moving throughout the arena, so it adapts. When the Mastodon dies, the Necromancer just completely gets a bit angry, or he takes back his power from what he infused into the Mastodon, and he amplifies all of his skills. So his lightning strikes hit differently, his meteors hit differently, different patterns, different distributions. Now, getting both, that means getting both to as low health as possible together and killing them at the same time is one strategy. If you find it is easier to deal with a buffed Mastodon, then killing the Necro first is easier. And if you find it's easier dealing with a buffed Necro, entirely based on your playstyle, your build, your skills, you have those 3 decisions of what decision to make in order to make life easier for yourself. Sometimes it is hard to make those decisions on the fly, but if you go in there with, say you attempt and then you go in for another attempt, you can easily make that decision and you can go, I'm going to focus DPS on one or the other. Just let this play out a little bit as well. I'm going to talk about another one while this is happening. It might be a bit weird, but it's, we're not going to show it, there's no need. And that is just, interestingly, the hardest boss in the game to balance so far has been the first boss in Act 1. Every single day, some game system changes. A player skill changes, a new mechanic is added, like all of a sudden there's heavy stun to deal with, all of a sudden something. And so you've got this thing where you're working chronologically through areas and you start with this one boss, and I probably wouldn't be surprised if we've had to rebalance that first boss over 500 times in order to make it feel right. And you don't know you're going to come up with a new mechanic the next day, you just it just happens. And so then all of a sudden character balance changes in such a way, or unique monster life or stun ability or something changes, and all of a sudden you've got to rebalance everything you've already done. It can be quite taxing, but what it results in is you often want to leave things, not 100% because they'll become 70% a week later or less in terms of how, well done. All right, so you can see now from this, going back to this fight here that Octavian's doing, you can see now there's a new mechanic introduced, which is there is both a moving kind of bullet hell style projectile sphere, as well as what we call volatiles, which are the orbs chasing him that will explode once they make proximity. So fighting just the Mastodon is now harder because you have to deal with these 2 extra mechanics. But he's doing pretty well. We'll have a success here, I suspect, I believe. So yeah, going back to the Miller, it was actually the Swollen Miller as the first boss. It's been very, very, very hard to balance is one word, but lots of time spent on it. The other thing is we really don't want it to be that you can walk up to him and just hold down a button, not dodge a thing, not evade a thing, and survive. And at one point we had only 1 life flask. Yes, well done. At one point we had only 1 life flask, 1 mana flask, and without the normal monsters now giving flash charges back, we ended up deeming, and I mean on, not overall, I mean on the beach, what you start with. And what we learned is that often you will run out of flash. If you just stood there and held down attack, or whatever skill you have, you would run out of flash charges and life before you killed them, most of the time. And then all of a sudden we added another life flask back. And so now you're fighting the Miller, and now you can just go back to holding down 1 skill, never moving, never dodging, because as long as one of his skills cannot one-shot you, and the time between attacks is long enough that you can restore your life, then you're fine. You're never going to die as long as you have enough life flasks.
Do you want me to go fight Miller?
What do we want you to fight? Let's just show some prisoner for a moment here.
Joy.
But don't worry about it. No success needed.
It's a very cool boss.
I just want to show how cool it is, more so than make sure you open all 3 of the doors. Get a little heist mini game before the boss.
Look, I'm back where I was when I logged out. You can demonstrate that.
It's because of all the cheats, though. All of a sudden we had another life flask to characters, and now people are just sitting there face tanking it until it dies again, and you never have to dodge. So we have to rebalance the boss yet again. It's either that or rebalance flasks, but then you have to determine which one. Well, one boss being rebalanced is far easier than rebalancing all flasks for every character. Obviously, you don't go with that one.
We wanted to show the doors, so I'm just clipping back to the doors.
Yeah, so this one has a cool epic lead-up where you've got a series of doors, and you're in the bottom of a prison. This prison was built around this boss. He is a regenerator. He cannot die. So what they would do is keep the boss in a perpetual state of drowning. It was actually our intention, and it may still happen, that this room he's about to go into is completely flooded with water, and when you open this door, the water drains out. And he was kept there just to make sure that he couldn't break free, because he cannot be killed, except for by the player for some reason. But it's interesting in this one, he changes his 3 phases. He definitely sets a new bar, but brutal. There are actually ballistae around the arena, and the first time you phase shift him, he will take a knee, and then you hit the ballista fires at him, and the spear goes, the big projectile, it's a big metal spike, goes into him, and he can pull that out and now use it as a weapon. So there's phase change number 1. The second one, the second ballista, he will get shot and he will lose his entire arm. It will be gone. He will then kind of Dragon Ball Z Piccolo style grow a new one. And that arm is fresh and imbued with, like, his corpse is all rotted, so he doesn't get to use too much magic, just the cold magic from his like frozen organs. And now he regrows a fresh bloody arm, and he can now use blood magic, and then you've got phase 3, so he's both got a spear and blood magic going on. He's very difficult. Oh, nice heavy stun.
No. Damn it.
All good. So my plan, as I said, it was pretty impromptu to just go through things. We've got about 13 minutes left, so I'm going to say we just skip straight to seeing if anyone wants to come up here and fight. It is not going to be a, if you succeed, you get some merch. I will just give you some merch anyway. However, it'll be one at a time. I'll ask people to raise their hand if they want. If no one wants to, we'll go to Q&A. It's fine. But I'd like to give some people to give it a shot. There's some hand sanitizer up here if you're feeling like you want it. You don't have to, it's up to you. We will pick the boss. Hard luck. But again, put on a show, and then you get the merch. It's all good. We just want to have this be fun and entertaining. All right, so that being said, let me just check there wasn't anything super critical I needed to talk through. I'll talk over when people are fighting anyway. Does anyone, especially on the ground floor, if you're up there, you might want to move down if you want an attempt, but I can't see too well here, so I'll just pick whatever I can see. Oh, I see someone right there.
Oh,
yes,
I'm so dead.
you who stood up. Stairs are over here. Come give it a go. I saw a waving hand. It's very hard to see the rest.
I got it.
We'll do ones we've shown here a little bit. We'll give the blind beast a go on the warrior. We keep renaming that class, and I keep almost mispronouncing the other name. Welcome. Give it a go. Give it a go. So he's going to set you up. Go over there. He'll get you into the correct position on the correct class. Again, if you want to sanitize your hands, go for it. You can do it before or after. It's entirely up to you. And then give it a go. And see what happens.
All right.
As soon as you started, I'll move on to some other topics.
Right through that menacing-looking gate there.
Remember, dodge roll, spacebar. Good luck.
Do better than me.
You got your war cry on W. You've got your sunder on R. Now, this character has, on right click, it's called armor break. If you hit the boss 3 times in this case, it will break its armor. If you then sunder it, you will do an always crit at double damage. Ah, it's good!
Try again if you get a stun on him.
If you heavy stun him, feel free to open a portal.
Leap Slam does a ton of extra stun damage, by the way. Oh.
When he's armor broken, using the right click, if you hit him 3 times, R, the sunder, will do an always crit at double damage. E, which is the leap slam, will do a 1,000% or 500% more stun damage. So
I think it's 500. Yeah. I think it's 500. Yeah.
500? I put the number in there, I should know. When you do that, ideally you would then heavy stun him. What you can then do is immediately war cry followed by a fully powered up channeled ground slam. And that should do a lot of damage. There's your armor break, debuff represented under. Didn't stun him.
He's unstunnable during that spin.
Unstunnable?
You have to time it correctly.
So once you stun something, it makes it very hard to stun them again for a duration. Once you kind of get the rhythm of that, it'd be actually maybe better to use Sunder in some cases instead of using the Leap Slam, because you should know that he kind of can't be stunned for that time. You'll get the feel for that as you play more and more as to which skills you should use in which circumstances.
Excuse me.
Try, you can do this damageless.
Nice.
Oh!
Nice. Just gotta get back to it. Nice.
Oi. Nice. Oh!
Remember to use the well.
Remember to use the well. All right. We're probably only going to get one more attempt at this after this one, so... As in one more person to try another boss.
Excuse me.
Nice. Good Sunder. Big chunk of life there gone.
Oh, it's way cooler watching it on the huge screen. Nice.
Over halfway. I know it's going to be instinctive to portal here, but for the sake of others trying, I will implore you to try and not, but it's up to you. Don't want to give you any unfair disadvantage or anything, but I reckon you've got this. Damageless.
He has learned the power of Sunder.
As far as I'm concerned, you've already won, which is awesome. It's a good attempt. Still yet to be a success.
Nice.
Very nice. Oi. Home stretch. One thing I'm noticing a lot here is the instinct to use shift, attack in place all the time. It does result in misses. It is very hard to change the muscle memory there. I appreciate that. Perfect example.
You got this.
Oh, easy. Do it. Nice. All right, thank you very much. We'll give one more person an attempt, and unfortunately that will, well, it's either that or we do a Q&A. We're going to go to a different boss that we haven't shown here. Well done. Come this way, I'll give you something. Or you can pick.
Got to use the quest reward.
There's a plushie, there's game pads if you want. Any of these. Just pick one item out of one bag. Feel free. Awesome, that's a legacy one as well. Well done, awesome. All right, we've got one more. Oh, you're right up the front here, let's go.
Where am I taking him?
Now, the good thing is if you dive very quickly, someone else gets shot.
Hey, Neil.
Nice to meet you. Octavian will get you situated there. This is the last one. Won't be a Q&A. Sorry for whoever was back there ready to do the questions. We'll just do this instead. I think it's more entertaining.
What boss am I taking
Captain
to?
Hartlin, please.
Hartlin.
One we didn't show earlier, so you're going in blind a bit here unless
good luck.
you happen to get there during play demos out on the floor. Now, one interesting thing about this one is that this boss has a quest where you will find a person trapped in a... there's a little bit of spoiler here, I'm so sorry, but it is again on the play demo. You will find a Freya Hartlin trapped in a Karui prison. And Freya Hartlin is wanting you to rescue her, and she sends you off to kill her son, Captain Hartlin. And
This is blind.
corrupted.
He was just asking if we'd shown this one yet.
Is it live?
Blind. This is
Oh, blind?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He's just off screen to the left there.
It's to your left, and it's kind of top left corner of the screen to get to the boss. Go for it. This boss, once you do the quest, he actually drops a quest item. You take it back to town, you come back to the start of the area, and you talk to Freya Hartlin, and you find that you will set free the Delirium NPC. Is that the right one? The Strange Voice. And that actually unlocks Delirium League from doing that. So we have quests throughout the campaign that unlock the League mechanic from then spawning in the game. Now this boss has an interesting mechanic where he kind of does a Wheel of Fortune kind of style. I don't know if that's the right thing, but anyway, spins the wheel and it lands on a specific mechanic. And then it flashes a particular color. So in this case it was kind of teal, which means he will use that skill until he spins it again and changes the thing. So that one went to a different color, which I think is he will summon a giant anchor from the sky. I can't remember the color correlations. Oh no, same color. I'm blind apparently. And so we've got red here, which causes this giant cannon barrage to appear. And then we have, oh, that's back to the one from before. But he has a number of mechanics, and the fight changes based on which one of those it randomly yields. So the purple one here, which I believe summons minions.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't summon very many that time, but... And he's got 4, I believe, of these, but otherwise he's just got a bunch of pirate-themed skills. You've got the wave that slows and degens you, pushes you. You've got a couple of slams. Ooh, yeah. That is one of the 4 mechanics. He's got the cannon fire. Just let this play out. Doing pretty good.
All hands on deck is apparently 2 hands on deck. Oh, there we go. That's more sense.
Just for the team back there, if I run over the time too much, because we've only got 38 seconds left, come and just tell me off. We're good. We're good.
Good timing.
attempt. Alrighty, well, there's no time for Q&A, and we're perfectly hitting the end of the time. Anything else to talk about here? Any quickly, I didn't even get into any monsters, which is unfortunate, but that means there's more talks. Well done. Grab some merch. You don't have to succeed to do it, mate. The entertainment value gets you your prize. Anything, feel free to look for more. Awesome. Well done. Applause. Come on, good effort. All right, that's about it, and hope you enjoyed it. It was very unscripted. I've got all kinds of notes here I never ended up reading, but it's fine. Go play the demos. Hope you have a good time. Thank you very much for attending. Have a great time in New Zealand. What else is there to say on these? That's probably about it. Thanks, Octavian, for playing and demonstrating them.
Yeah.
Thanks,
You're
everyone.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Could have died a little less, but.